This episode of The Construction Record is brought to you by the Greater Toronto Sewer and Water Main Contractors Association. Clean water, our goal, our future.
My name's Ted, and I'm the head of salvage for Priestly Demolition. We run one of the best salvage operations around. Before the machines move into wreck, my team's job is to get in the building and remove anything of value. Oh my God, that's gorgeous. It is amazing, the objects we find and the stories they tell. Look at that. Pretty cool, eh? Whoa. But our job is not done till we get these items back to the yard and find a buyer.
Sold. That is nice.
We are the best at what we do.
Oh, this feels kind of good.
We are the Salvage Kings.
Hello, everyone. Warren Frey, digital media editor for the Daily Commercial News and Journal of Commerce, and I'm here with
Ted Finch, head of salvage, Priestly Demolition. And I'm Justin Fortin. I'm a foreman with Priestly Demolition, and I help Ted out any way I can.
and the reason we're talking is because they're the stars, or a couple of the stars, of Salvage Kings, the show on History Canada. And so they've made construction cool, or I'm sure they're one they're one of many companies that make construction cool, but they do it on TV. So we're going to talk about first of all how that happened in the first place. I mean, every vocation is on reality TV or documentary TV now, but how did this particular TV show come about?
I have a problem with the word star, though. Can we rewind that? We just work and they film, and yeah.
Okay.
And I gotta change
Subjects.
my shirt after this and go back to work. Yeah, we're working.
How about the subject of Salvage Kings?
It's all good. It all started out. I guess we salvage a lot of unique items, so we were just approached by a broadcasting company that wanted to do a docu-series on. Yeah, a lot of people watch construction equipment working. Like I remember as a kid, always watching stuff. Oh yeah, and that's part of it all. Like it's a natural show. Like it's a show for anyone to look out their window and watch a big site being developed or demolished. At an arcade. Or a dozer pushing dirt, which was when I was young. That's how I got into it. And the guy put me on his lap, and I watched Vic wreck the mushroom factory when I was 13 years old. Really? Yeah. The first demo. It all goes way back. It's embedded into it.
Now, I watched the I guess it's at the time it was not aired yet, but now it has been, the premiere where you guys are looking for gold in Timmins, Ontario. First off, tell me, did you find the gold?
Yes, we did. Found gold, real legit gold. We're sitting right beside it right now.
Okay, cool.
Not enough, just enough to come back tomorrow to work again. Yeah.
And just in terms of demolition, is that kind of a high watermark, or is that par for the course that you're going to find weird stuff like that or valuable stuff like that?
We find a lot of valuable items. I mean, a lot of stuff is left behind in buildings. People don't realize it or just don't care. So like, our job is to go into the building and make sure that there's nothing valuable left behind prior to the demolition. Or they're in a rush, or it's not theirs. Like, like they rented it or whatever. Yeah, people buy buildings as an investment. They don't even look. We go into buildings where the new owner hasn't even looked inside. They don't care. They just want it taken down.
And in terms of salvaging, like from when I saw that show, and I'm sure this is probably fairly through line in the show, there's a lot of history behind all these shows. You go up to Timmins. I'm not from Ontario. I know what I know of Timmins is what's mentioned in the show, that Shania Twain is from there. so to see all these different buildings and stuff that have all this, I hesitate to say weird, but a lot of old and interesting artifacts in it. That's just stuff you wouldn't see otherwise. How much of that do you run into?
In small towns, a lot more. In big cities, the buildings turn over faster. We demolish buildings that are 30, 40 years old in Toronto and major urban areas, but in the small towns, a building could be closed for 25 years. Yeah, and just sit there. So you're going to find more history, more items to tie that building to the area. In the 80s and 90s, Toronto had a major facelift. Like all the Matthew Fergus buildings and all those were tore down a long time ago. In small towns, they still exist. And I'm 48 now. I never really looked outside of Toronto
either. So when we travel up to Timmins, it really opens my eyes, and it shows me how Canada was built. And that's why Toronto was there. Is these small towns were mining and lumber and
logging and mining.
so, and they created the hub of Toronto, and now Toronto is what it is. It's a massive city, and it's one of the top cities in the world. And so, but without the small towns, I don't think it would be there. No.
Mm-hmm. And just in terms of the show itself, you guys are there to do a job, and that's to, demolish the place and find the salvage and sort of catalog it. But how do you do that with a bunch of cameras around you? Because I mean, like most good reality shows, you don't see the cameraman in the frame, like The Amazing Race. Even though there's frenetic activity happening, you don't see the behind the scenes. You just kind of watch it as if you're a fly on the wall. How's that pulled off? Because I know it's not easy.
No, you're right. It's not easy. They to be honest, they hold me up a little bit, but they got used to. This is our second season, so they kind of got used to the way we work.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a hurry, real time. So
It's a real job. It has to get done.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so with the helmet cams this year and stuff like
that
that,
helps. Yeah.
and if I'm wrecking something, there's a camera on the boom, there's a camera in the cab, and there's 2 cameramen, so they don't stop me. So once the salvage is done, I'm pretty much clear sailing, unless we find something, and then I might slow it down a bit. But in most part, they don't slow us down like the first day.
No, yeah, at the beginning, because they were new to it as well. Like, so
Safety is a factor. Right?
Kind of freaked them out a little bit, but the buildings that we go into. But I mean, like when Justin's demolishing a building, there's no second take.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
And they're not from this world, so we have to really watch them.
Yeah.
They're a lot better now, but like that wall's coming down. You guys don't understand. You can't be there. You have to be way back there, and things can fall and things can ricochet. Like, just play safe, you know?
Yeah. We're a lot of times watching them to make sure they're safe. The two of us are fine. We know what we're doing, but you keep looking over your shoulder saying, "Don't touch that. Get away from there. Stay away from that." Yes.
And just in terms of watching the show yourselves, do you ever watch it and go, that doesn't feel right, but it feels different watching it sort of from the outside in?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's hard to watch myself.
Yeah.
It's hard to. I don't love it all the time. I appreciate it, and I think one day I'll look back and really appreciate it. But like,
it's hard.
It's hard. It's you're like, oh, like, what? I was wrecking a building in Timmins, and there's 100 people watching.
Yeah.
And the stress level for me was through the roof, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, why? But at the end of the day, it's good. And chorus has been great, and production company's been great. So it's an experience that I could never say no.
And I would assume that this doesn't interfere with what you guys decide to go salvage. It's like they're coming along for the ride, as opposed to the show dictating where you're going to go next.
Well, it's unscripted, so whatever we find, that's the item. Like, we have no idea. We walk in there, it could be anything, or it could be nothing. Like, we did a lot of buildings that there's nothing in there, and they just that just falls on the floor, right? Like, no, that day.
There's buildings where we salvage. I mean, we're going to find something everywhere: electrical equipment, heating and cooling systems, mechanical. It might not be historic or important to them, but it's coming out anyway.
Well, we've been filming a year and 4 months for this season.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of footage.
it's
It's
just
no good.
I mean, they just go with us. We get a job, and we'll just say we're going here, so they just follow us, and they're hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And does that mean a lot of stuff ends up on the cutting room floor, or is it the opposite, that the audience doesn't know until they know that this is actually interesting, what you found?
Yeah, probably a bit of both. If you find something, then we look it up, and we don't know if it's good, and then it has to be great. That can make a story, right?
Yeah.
But we've done a lot of buildings. Like, it's just
We go through a lot of buildings.
Well,
every year.
Speaking of that, what is some of the most unusual or best, I don't know if best is the right term, but the most unusual stuff you've found in terms, like the gold would be one thing, but I'm sure you found other stuff that just kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, we I have a lot of crazy customers. Well, not crazy customers, but people that will buy anything. So
Eccentric.
yes, eccentric, we could call them. I mean, for instance, this year we found a morgue, an autopsy table, and sold that to a customer of mine, and different stuff like that.
That I think the amulet was probably for me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is cool. It turned out not to be real, but it's a reproduction from 100 years ago. But the story behind it, to me, like I just find it a sad part of Canada's history, but very important.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just touches home, you know.
Like I am all about history and Canadian history in particular. We live in a beautiful country. It's a young country, so we don't have a long history, but you got to preserve it, good or bad.
And I noticed that, I don't know if this is quote unquote drama, but I noticed that in the premiere, you were insistent that this is really valuable stuff. And sometimes there's like a little back and forth. How much of that is for the cameras and how much of that is for real, that you guys disagree or agree on what's actually valuable to salvage?
Well, what item? I'm just trying to think.
I it wasn't the gold. I think it was a sign or something. This is a few weeks since I've seen it, but I seem to recall that there was some disagreement. There's got to be some disagreement at points about whether something's worth keeping or not.
The workbench. When I say that workbench, it's a beautiful piece.
That workbench is probably what you're referring to.
Yeah,
possibly, yes.
I like to live in the real world sometimes, and like time is money, and very well, a machine costs money, and everything costs money, and if it's not viable, I got to push Ted sometimes. Although he pushes back twice as hard, I still, the trucks are coming in the morning. Like, we got to get done. And I say that all the time. Like, the trucks are coming. Like, I need 4 hours to prep it.
Yeah, like I am guilty of wanting to save everything because I just don't like putting more things in the landfill. And I can see the beauty of a lot of things, even though they may look nasty.
Especially that bench. Once you got it out of there and fixed it a little, it's gorgeous.
So I would assume that the season isn't over yet. That's premiered on April 19th, right? So there's quite a bit to go. So can you give a sneak preview of what's to come to the listeners who presumably are fans of the show?
Trains, planes, and automobiles.
Trains and automobiles and boats. We're going to salvage a jumbo jet, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And wait till you see that. That is bigger than life.
Yeah.
And the boat is coming back. It's going to be, and that's an item that I liked it.
Yeah.
But the buyer loved it.
We save a museum for a small town. Quite a few cool things. We get some really nice stained glass windows out of a church. Beautiful piece.
Yes. You want to see me nervous? Wait till you see the church one.
Okay. Well, I'm curious about the train one. Like, what was sort of the scenario behind that? Like, do you have to salvage a train station or?
No, it's actually, we do wreck train stations all the time. But right now we're sitting in my office as a caboose because we had a customer that just wanted to get rid of a train caboose.
It was rotten and we had to fix it up.
Yeah.
But he saved it. Otherwise they were going to crunch it.
We trucked it over here and fixed it up, and beautiful office.
And one other thing, I assume you guys sometimes salvage stuff and you think it's valuable and then it just turns out it isn't. So maybe you could tell me a couple of those stories. Or at least it's not in demand.
Not too often. No. You get the odd white elephant. Yeah, you'll get the odd piece that I think is very cool and someone's going to want, and it can sit for years. But it always surprises me because a lot of our customers, big customers, are movie set builders and prop buyers. So some of the funny things we have in the yard, people will say, "You'll never sell that," and one day someone will come in and go, "That's exactly what we're looking for."
We the one I'm thinking about is the BMO, the north end of the field. We saved all the bleachers when they expanded the field for CFL. We saved the whole end.
4,000 seats.
4,000 seats, all the framework, everything, and it sat in the yard forever. And people were like, "Can I buy some steel?" No, we got to keep it together. Then one day we said, "That's enough. It costs money sitting here. It's a big item. We scrapped it. The next day, a guy called.
Next
Oh,
day,
too bad.
I want to buy it for a whole
That's too
grand
bad.
and ship it down to the States.
And I'm sitting down there with a shear cutting it up, and I got the call.
Yeah.
Did you cut it up yet?
Uh,
Did you want me to cut it up?
you can only sit on so much stuff. Space is money.
That was probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I like to forget about it. But
And conversely, are there ones that sold for way more than you thought they ever would?
Quite a few things. Yeah. I can't. Just numerous items I would say end up selling for a lot more than we first thought.
I think the history of the plane. I think you're going to see something come up
Yeah.
in the next few episodes that surprises me. So that's probably a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
You knew it would happen, but I didn't think so.
Yeah. There's an ass for every seat.
That's a big thing to move around.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't think it was feasible, but
It worked.
Okay. And finally, you mentioned the History Channel, but where can people see the show? And I assume you guys have social media presences you'd also like to promote.
Well, we're on History Channel, 10 o'clock Mondays. Also on Global TV app and Stack TV.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin and I are both on Instagram at Salvage Ted and Salvage Justin.
yeah, we like to throw a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, nothing too incriminating, but
Yeah.
some, how do we do that or something like that. We just like to keep it current,
Yeah. We're old guys.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for your time.
This episode of The Construction Record is brought to you by the Ontario Sewer and Water Main Construction Association. Clean water is everybody's business.